I'll be honest, I am not actually that sure, that confident that Bolt's departure, that's Usain Bolt's departure, will really be noticed at this World Athletics Championships. Yes, there you go, I've said it. Hello and welcome to another episode of Friday Night Track Club TV. This is episode 2. If you're listening on the podcast, hello and welcome. You know how we roll. We like to talk with the world's leading coaches, athletes, talk about track and field, sprinting, health, well-being, literally everything we like to cover. And today's episode is a special one. It's not featuring any guests. We're actually going to be previewing the World Athletics Championships that are going to be starting today in Doha. Now, no matter the huge list of controversies surrounding these championships, and when I talk about controversies, these do link to the fact that Doha is actually holding not just one but two major sporting events in this year and in the upcoming years with the World Cup taking place there. There are human rights issues, there are temperature issues, there are vastly low ticket sales concerns. I mean, the list really goes on, but if we talk about those low ticket concerns, they have done a stadium refurbishment which can seat 40,000 people in that stadium at one time. Ticket sales for the 10-day event so far are just 50,000. So we could be talking about a stadium full of 5,000 people, which is the pinnacle athletics event after the Olympic Games. Major concerns there, but apparently we have been reassured that more ticket sales have been taking place since that announcement was made. So if that's true, brilliant. If not, it's going to be a disappointing watch really for us on TV to see empty stadiums. No one wants to see an empty stadium. And really for those athletes out there, you know, this could be the highest that they ever reach within their sport, within their discipline, and they might only have a handful of people actually watching them. Anyway, moving on. So, with these World Athletics Championships taking place starting today, 1:45, coverage from the BBC here in the UK is pretty impressive for a World Athletics Championships. There's plenty of coverage on mainstream channels, so BBC One, BBC Two, there's going to be loads broadcast there. But also the red button, if you are listening to us or watching us stateside, the red button is basically interactive TV. They are broadcasting an awful lot of it via the red button and via their online demand system. So do capitalize on this. Do make the most of being able to watch premium athletics content from the comfort of your home. This is something that we might have to say goodbye to in the future. We really don't know how certain athletics coverage is going to be on TV. So capitalize on that right now. We have a lot to preview over the next 15 minutes or so. And I'm going to start because I am obviously a British individual. I'm based here in GB. I want to talk to you about GB and GB's preparations for about 60 seconds. So GB have taken their holding camp to Dubai. Now, naturally, one of the controversies behind hosting the games or the championships in Doha is that temperatures are around 40 degrees centigrade, and this makes performance at that level very difficult, not to mention actually dangerous, in particular for these endurance athletes, which we will talk about shortly. But the holding camp, the training camp for GB has taken place in Dubai. Now, nearly all of the athletes have been out there training. Laura Muir, however, hasn't. So our middle distance superstar, Laura Muir, has unfortunately had a calf or a foot injury. We've heard mixed reports really on that, and hasn't run since July. She's actually been rehabbing in South Africa, so she wasn't with the rest of the group, but the majority of the team have been in Dubai. We've seen lots of clips from the sprinters, particularly Harry AA, who has been filming himself training out there in Dubai in an attempt to acclimatise towards those environmental conditions that they will suffer and they will have to deal with in Doha itself. If we think about this temperature concern though, the actual event organisers have implemented next level technology. Now, I'm not entirely sure how environmentally friendly it is to run an enormous aircon system outdoors in the stadium. But Seb Coe has praised, surprisingly, the committee, the Doha committee, for basically taking technology to the next level, and he has stated that he's been in the stadiums and it has actually been 23 degrees Celsius as a result of this amazing aircon. If that's the case, then conditions are going to be fantastic for all of those events taking place in the stadium. I know Isa Barshin, the high jumper, has actually said those conditions are a little bit cold for him to be jumping, and that's not ideal as a sprinter and as a jumps athlete to be competing in something 23 degrees when actually it would be quite nice for it to be a little bit warmer. But the real concern, which actually was still up for discussion, I think it was 48 hours ago, is around the marathon. So the marathon is due to start at 11:59 p.m, so 1 minute before midnight, and this is in the hopes of dealing with the extraordinary heat conditions that marathon runners will face, because they won't obviously have air conditioning outside on the road. So by running it at midnight, the idea was that, okay, we're running the championships a month later, we're going to run it at midnight, things will be better. However, the forecast looks like it will still be over and above 30 degrees Celsius. Now that is hot as a marathon runner who's going to be out there for 2 hours 10, 2 hours 15 minutes, 2 hours 20, 2 hours 30, whatever their level the athlete is competing at. That is a very, very hot and humid condition still to be performing in. So the marathon is still actually to be performed at that time. The race walk, the 50-kilometer race walk, they're even talking about delaying this to the end of the championships. They just don't know at this point whether it's going to be suitable enough to perform at this early point in the championship. So it might be delayed by a couple of weeks in effect. For GB marathoners, Charlotte Purdue has chosen to train and acclimatise in a heat chamber. If you've ever seen one of these things, they're amazing. If you haven't, it's like a massive safe, a big door which locks and seals, and you can change the environmental conditions there. And she's been training at St Mary's in Twickenham in a heat chamber, replicating not just the heat but also the humidity. And she said at first it was incredibly difficult. I wasn't sure whether I'd actually manage to do this, but since, she has actually been able to perform and become reasonably comfortable, she said, about performing in those conditions. So she's going to be an exciting one to watch. I actually saw her compete at 2017 championships and stood by her parents. So definitely someone to watch out for, to see how she manages within these conditions. On top of this, let's talk about the GB team itself. There are some real key names to look out for. We're going to be captained by Richard Kilty, which was a major surprise for me. I didn't expect that. Harry AA captained recently. I think it was in the team championships. I think he did pretty well there. But Richard Kilty was nominated by his peers, the other athletes, to be their captain. He'll be in the relay most likely. He doesn't have an individual event. And it will be interesting to see whether he can step up to the platform. He obviously has a kind of checkered past really in terms of getting on with his teammates, but maybe he's matured a little bit now, and not necessarily being one of the prime athletes or the top tier athletes, having an individual will actually give him something else to focus on. The GB women is really where our main medal hopes exist. So if we think of Laura Muir, she has had a few amazing seasons. This will be her opportunity to gain a major outdoor title if she is recovered. We are told she has recovered well from her injury, but obviously hasn't actually raced since July. We then have Dina Asher-Smith, who has been phenomenal. Dina Asher-Smith has really torn apart the 100 and 200 meter scene, not just in Europe, but worldwide. Her times have been very fast, and I am hoping that she and her coach have really periodized their season, and we're going to see some really fast times from her. And I would love to see her go on and take a title, if not a silver, or very least bronze. I really think she has the ability to appear on the podium and she has been dominating the short sprints in the women's events. So please, come on, let's get behind Dina. And then finally, Katarina Johnson-Thompson. Again, a difficult past. A really checkered past in terms of performing at the highest level at the right time. And then in the last couple of years, things have turned around. She's moved training base. She has really become an athlete in her own. And it's quite refreshing to see her new attitude, her positive outlook on events and on competing itself. So I am hoping to see an amazing, and I mean an amazing, duel against Thiam of Belgium. Thiam, if you look at her, she is now matured in her age as well as in her events, and we really could see something special from Thiam. And I think going back and forth against KJT, we might see this one being, well, coming down to the wire really, the 800 meters at the end of all of the events. It might be decided there, with Thiam having a stronger or slightly stronger throws events than KJT, but KJT's 800 meter performance is well superior to Thiam's. Thiam really struggles with the 800, so it might end up being a race, and I mean a real 800 meter race to take that title. So do look out for that one. I think, interestingly with the heptathlon, just to touch on this, interestingly with the heptathlon, it is not going to be split into sessions. We're going to have a 5-hour solid session for the heptathletes. What this does say to me is that it is going to be physically but also mentally demanding. So can KJT bring that positivity that she has demonstrated recently right up to this major event? Let's hope so. Now, I mentioned controversies taking place earlier on. Unfortunately, the controversies aren't just limited to the hosts of the games and the scenario that is taking place. It actually does involve a couple of the athletes. Most notoriously, most famously, I would probably say, is Christian Coleman, so the world's fastest man over the last couple of years. He is the man who has been leading this pathway since Usain Bolt's departure, and he has now been cleared to compete. He actually was suspended by USADA following missing 3 doping tests. Now, to miss 1, to miss 2 maybe, but missing 3 always raises real alarm bells, and he was immediately suspended. However, this was then reversed and dropped by USADA, and he was therefore cleared to compete. He obviously maintained his innocence throughout this whole process. But this does leave a little bit of a sour taste in one's mouth, and we will probably have to see a duel go ahead between him and his US compatriots in the 100, and he's going to be competing in the 200, I believe, as well. So with that, will there be some support for perhaps the other runners as opposed to Christian because of this recent event, or is everything forgotten and he can just go ahead and compete with everyone supporting him behind him from the US? We will find out. We'll find out very shortly, actually, because the sprint heats all start taking place quite early on in the championships. The German TV makers have made another appearance. If you think back a few years ago, all those doping allegations within athletics, it was a German TV documentary. The guys are back again, and this week, so the week of the championships, have announced that they have some serious allegations against Kenyan sport and Kenyan elite athletes, basically. In their TV documentary this week, they have alleged to have filmed a Kenyan elite male and elite female actually injecting themselves with erythropoietin, so EPO, the substance which triggers red blood cell development and therefore can indirectly but quite substantially improve oxygen carrying capabilities, improve your VO2 max. So it's kind of like the sense of improving fitness, basically. And considering their events are largely towards the middle distance and long distance pathways, that is going to be hugely beneficial. In this documentary, it doesn't just stay there, actually. It goes further. They actually speak to the team doctor, who claims to have supported, administered performance enhancing strategies during training. He says, we don't do it during any major events in competition, nothing like that, but we give them EPO, or these 8 athletes. And these aren't just any athletes, these are 8 of the elite athletes, apparently, allegedly, EPO to improve their performance. And, well, Seb Coe has said the Athletes Integrity Unit will be investigating this week. They will start that this week. But it doesn't really help that the Kenyan athletes' reputation over the last couple of years has been incredibly sketchy. So I've made a note here. There have been 41 elite Kenyans, or there are 41 elite Kenyan athletes right now under sanction for doping. 41. Considering GB are taking 73 athletes, that would be like more than half of the team are struggling, or not struggling, are currently serving sanctions for doping. Obviously they won't be able to go to a championships as they're serving sanctions, but that's a huge number. These aren't just nobodies either. This list includes Rita Jeptu, so that's the Boston and Chicago marathon winner, the 2016 Olympic marathon winner, Jemima Sumgong, and the 2008 Olympic and 3-time 1500 meter champion Asbel Kiprop. So 3 huge athletes with huge accolades, all serving sanctions at the moment. So this is going to be an area that's going to be investigated. Whether we get an answer during this championships, I'm not entirely sure. I think it's come about a little bit late. Whether that was intentional from the German TV documentary makers, or whether it's just fallen that way, I don't know. But it is going to be an area that will be watched quite closely during some of these endurance events that take place. And the endurance events are going to be very exciting at these championships. We're going to touch on that shortly. But to round off these championships, I'm not entirely sure whether Usain Bolt will actually be missed. Obviously, it's the first World Championships without Usain Bolt for quite some time. And I'm not saying that he, as the world's fastest man, won't be missed. I'm saying that these championships will likely be slightly different, and therefore we won't be focusing on Usain Bolt. I am Usain Bolt's biggest fan. Absolutely love what he has done for the sport, what he has done for inspiring others to take up sport, not even just athletics, just getting them involved in movement. I am a massive fan of his, and I simply just don't think his shoes could ever be filled, and B, I don't think these championships are necessarily about replacing Usain Bolt. It's just there's a new kind of electricity, there's a new excitement around the sport, particularly in the sprints where we don't have a 100% firm choice winner in some of these sprint events now. There are a group of people who are all fighting for his title, you know, his standing really within the sport. There is one man, Noah Lyles, so 100 and 200, only doing the 200 here at the Doha Championships. He has claimed that he is targeting Usain Bolt's 200 meter world record. He still has quite a way to go. It's less than half a second, but you know, that's a long way. But he has charisma, he has excitement, and most of all, he has real belief in his own ability to perform. So look out for Noah Lyles. He is targeting that world record. We're going to see Christian Coleman in the 100 go up against Gatlin, I believe. Whether or not Gatlin can pull out another performance, I don't know. But then, events which perhaps haven't taken prime light over the last few years are going to be really exciting. So I want you to look out for Karsten Walholm in the men's 400 meters. He's going to be going against Ray Benjamin. Now, Karsten is amazing. If you ever see him, he has real character. I love athletes that have character and have a personality. I really think he's going to be pushing for another Norwegian championship record, national record, should I say. Whether he can perform anything more than that, excellent. But let's focus on that for now, the national record. Don't ignore Delilah Muhammad and the US track prodigy Sydney McLaughlin in the women's race either. That's going to be exciting. They've been going very quickly this season. we have the family of athletes. Remember the Borlays, actually. Remember all of the Borlay family that used to take part in championships. It was always exciting to see so many of them taking part. We have the Ingebrigtsens. Now, Jakob, Henrik and Philip, I think it's those three, I might be wrong, I do apologise, are all going in the 5K. And what's really exciting is Jakob has, the youngest of them, has been performing so well this season. I actually think it might be he who actually unveils everything this season and can pull something amazing out of the bag. I really do think he has this unrelenting desire to win in races and challenge. So look out for the Ingebrigtsens in the 5K. Now, everyone should know Sifan Hassan's record. She was competing against Dibaba all of the time. She was always so strong. She was always doing so much, and then finishing in second behind Dibaba in so many different races in different disciplines as well. So not just in the one race, but she could move up or down in duration, and Dibaba would be there, and Dibaba would always bring it back. Dibaba hasn't really performed that well for the last couple of years. She pulled out of this championships with an injury, a foot injury, last week, maybe the week before, whereas Sifan Hassan has been unbelievable really over the last season. She's had some tremendous races. I have loved the way she has also supported her teammates and the kind of sportsmanship that she has shown at the Diamond League this season. Now, she has a real opportunity not just to come out of Dibaba's shadow here, but also lay down an absolute amazing legacy. So she has entered the 1500, the 5K and the 10K races. Unfortunately, and this is becoming a bit of a theme of this championships, she cannot do all of those races due to poor scheduling. The 5K and the 10K are apparently 30 minutes apart. This is an issue that Miller Weibo obviously can't do the double in the 200 and 400 either. And we're just not helping ourselves with these issues like that, because Miller Weibo, I would say she is one to watch in this race, in this championships. Unfortunately, I would say she would be one of the highlights of this championships if she was able to enter the double, but she can't. Hassan has the chance. She has the chance to do the double, and the double that I'm really excited about and hope that she opts for, because she has said she'll make the decision during this championship, is to do the 10K and the 1500, because no one has even achieved a medal in this event before, let alone won both events. So, Hassan, go on. Go and do the 10 and the 1500. Even if you medal in both, that will be setting an absolutely amazing legacy. We want to see that. Now, obviously there are going to be loads of other events to look out for. We are going to be chatting over the next 2 weeks about all of these events, but take advantage of it. It is on TV a lot. Communicate with us. Let us know what you think about the championships as they take place. We're on Instagram. That's Instagram.com/performance_physique. Or if you're using your phone, just go @performance_physique. Facebook.com/performance_physique, or just search us in the top bar, Performance Physique. Twitter @performphysique, and then drop us an email, info@performancephysique.com. We want to hear all about your thoughts. If you have some questions, send them in. If not, enjoy the next couple of weeks of action, and we will be in touch very, very soon.